Kindly be seated. A pleasant morning to all. I welcome each and every one of you to the first in a series of monthly press conferences for 2019. Let me start by wishing each and every one of you a prosperous, productive, and peaceful 2019. I bid welcome to members of Cabinet, to the permanent secretaries, other heads of departments, senior civil servants, of course, the police, head of the police superintendent, David, and Inspector Carty. Welcome. And you, the members of the press corps. The format this morning is quite simple. The Premier will make his statement, and then you, the members of the press corps, will be given the opportunity to ask your questions. In asking questions, however, we kindly impress upon you that what you should be asking are questions. No grandstanding, no soapboxing, and whatever you do, please, no editorials. I kindly ask you to turn your phones off or put them on silence. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming to the podium the Honorable Premier, Mark A.G. Brantley.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I see Mr. Daniel has come in 2019 early o'clock with some admonitions. I'm very grateful that you're all here, and I thank you for coming. This monthly press conference is clearly a commitment that we would have made when we campaigned. It seemed a long time ago, but not so long, just about a year ago, that we would come on a monthly basis at least once each month to update the members of the press and the public as to matters relevant to the island and to basically provide an opportunity on a monthly basis for us to have a discussion. I want to thank all the members of Cabinet who are here. I want to thank the various department heads, the permanent secretaries, the police, high command, and of course the members of the press. Thank you all for being here, and I hope not to be overly long, but just to give you a quick update, this being the first of what we hope to be a dozen press conferences this year, or at least a dozen, as we try to do this every month. Let me start by, of course, wishing everyone a wonderful new year. I hope that we all had a good Christmas, and we look forward certainly with renewed hope for this new year. During the month of December, a number of our police officers, hard-working police officers, on the island of Nevis were promoted. Officer Joel Keynes was promoted from sergeant to acting inspector. The Michael brothers, we all know them quite well, the twin brothers, they were promoted from constable to acting corporal. Officer Huggins from constable to acting corporal. Officer Antonio Brown from constable to acting corporal. Officer Isaac from constable to acting corporal. Officer Charles from corporal to acting sergeant. Female officer Percival, she was moved from acting inspector to confirmed inspector. Officer Stevens was moved from acting inspector to confirmed inspector. Officer Myers moved from acting inspector to confirmed inspector. I hope I've got all here in Nevis, and of course there were others in St. Kitts, but I'm dealing with those on Nevis, and I want to extend my heartiest congratulations to the force, to all the officers who have moved up, and just to say that there is a future in policing, and for many out there, young people in particular, who are looking for a career, to recommend policing, and the fact that people are able to come in and to move up the ranks suggests that there is in fact a career opportunity there, and we encourage persons to look to the police force as a distinguished career for themselves. And so I want to extend from the Premier's office congratulations to all of these hard-working men and women, and welcome them to the higher ranks that they now occupy. And only to say to them that to whom much is given, much is expected. And so we would expect that the police will continue to work hard. On the 19th of this month, Miss Celian Martin Powell celebrated her 107th birthday at the Flamboyant Home. In attendance to celebrate with her were the Honorable Eric Evelyn, and her honor, the Deputy Governor General, Ms. Hailita Liburd, and of course her family members, friends, and well-wishers. She is, I'm told now, the oldest living person in the entire country of St. Kitts and Nevis. And I want to extend heartiest congratulations to her on achieving this milestone of 107 and of course to her family for the care that they continue to give to her, and to the staff, management and staff of the Flamboyant Home for the excellent care that they too continue to give to Miss Powell. It is my hope that she will continue from strength to strength, and at 107 I am pretty sure that she will continue and can continue, and we pray that God will continue to bless her with even longer life. She's had long life already, even longer life, and so we celebrate with her and with her family. I also would like to take the opportunity to congratulate the 3 Division awardees who were recently honored by the Hearts and Hands for Nevis at their 20th anniversary gala luncheon on Sunday the 20th of January in New York. The honorees were Mr. Everett Weber Herbert, the manager at Vaughan Radio, Ms. Yasmin Clark, our senior magistrate, and Mr. Elcomida Willett, former West Indies cricketer and the first from the Leeward Islands to make the West Indies cricket team. Forgive me, Mr. Elcomida Willett, MBE, first to make the West Indies cricket team from the Leeward Islands. I want to congratulate all the awardees, and of course to congratulate Hearts and Hands for the excellent work that they continue to do in the diaspora. For the second year in a row, Nevis has been selected in USA Today's 10 Best, where readers are encouraged to vote for their favorite islands in a number of categories. This year, Nevis is nominated for the Best Caribbean Island for Romance. I hope you're all listening, you know. The Best Caribbean Island for Romance, the Best Caribbean Island for Golf, the Best Caribbean Beach Bar. The public is encouraged to log on to USA Today's Reader's Choice Top 10 and cast their votes daily for Nevis. And the golf course, of course, is the Four Seasons Golf Course. And in terms of the beach bar, that is Sunshine's Beach Bar. On the 11th of this month, we sadly saw the passing of Mr. George Brantley. He, of course, had served in various capacities. He was a consummate civil servant on the island of Nevis. Prior to independence, he served as government secretary, which was the federal government's representative on the island of Nevis, before there was a deputy governor general position. Well, we said the federal government, we don't really mean that. It was the central government, because the federal government, of course, didn't come until independence. So we would want to extend our condolences, of course, to the family of Mr. Bradley, and indeed to the families of all of those who have lost loved ones. Mr. Bradley, I was very pleased that we were able to attend, many of us from the cabinet, the funeral service for him at the St. George's Methodist Church. On 4th November 2018, since I was last here, of course, the Taiwanese resident ambassador, His Excellency Tom Lee, donated a check of some US $167,000 to assist us in procuring hemodialysis machine and water treatment system as we moved inexorably closer to the time when we would be able to offer hemodialysis services on the island of Nevis. I want to extend my gratitude to the ambassador and to his staff, and to, of course, the government and people of the Republic of China on Taiwan, which continues to contribute immeasurably to the life and times and development of the island of Nevis. On the 5th of December last year, we signed off on the Northern Point construction agreement, and we are hopeful, having signed off now and have all the bits and pieces in place in terms of the documentation, that project, which is, of course, the Wyndham Grand project in the St. James's area, that project will proceed apace. I will also like to report that we held a meeting with all the stakeholders for the Aman Hotel Resort, which had been promised now, as we know, for a very long time. We had all stakeholders met on the 11th of January, and I thought the meeting went very well. It appears that the funding for the Aman project is finally in place, and I would like to thank the local stakeholders that have come on board to make that possible. I think that meeting went extremely well, and we are hopeful now to move forward with some alacrity on that project, which, as we know, has languished now for well over a decade. So the hope would be that that project too has some new life, the money having been found, and can proceed apace. On Wednesday the 9th of January, members of the National Security Strategy Formulation Committee, led by Chairperson Mr. Dwyer Astafan, they held meetings here in Nevis, public consultations at the St. Paul's Anglican Church, with representatives of various stakeholder groups in Nevis. I was privileged to speak briefly, and I know that members of the public service were in attendance. The aim of the meetings was to gain a perspective on what they perceived to be the causes of crime and receive recommendations on the way forward. The committee would have met with prominent secretaries, heads of department and heads of statutory bodies of the Nevis Island Administration, hoteliers, and other tourism partners, the business community, representatives of the Christian community, members of the media, and also representatives of the Nevis Reformation Party and the Concerned Citizens Movement. I'm told that the Department of Information is having their Awareness Week, and that started on Sunday the 27th of January, and it concludes on Saturday the 2nd of February 2019. Since they're the Department of Information, I don't think they need me to disseminate any further information, but they're having a week of activities, and the idea really is to showcase what they do. I think sometimes we take it for granted, but they do work extremely hard, sometimes at odd hours, to ensure that all that is happening on the island is captured, recorded, and played for the benefit, of course, of the viewing public. On the 9th of February, an initiative that I'm very proud of, the NIA will host a reception honoring all of the 2018 university graduates on the lawn at Government House. The objective of this event is to recognize all of our university graduates and honor them for their accomplishments. And some people may ask, well, why are you doing that and why are you doing it now? I think we've had some internal discussions. Clearly, higher education now is something that we continue to try to encourage our young people to seek, and we felt that it was important to show them some level of appreciation when they would have run that particular course and graduated and come back to serve and to assist in building the island of Nevis. And so I'm not quite sure the number. The last I checked was certainly over 20, if I recall. Around 30 are youngsters who we will recognize at that small but significant event, cocktail event, on the 9th of February. And so we are asking them to come out. And some may ask again, well, why are you doing this? Why now? It really is an idea, I think, whose time has come. And we want to show appreciation, and we want to make it an annual event where we really recognize those youngsters who take that initiative and go out and seek to do what they need to do in order to better equip themselves for the future. We continue, of course, and I say it every press conference, to encourage our youngsters to take advantage of scholarship and other opportunities that are available. Education, education, education. It's the only way that we're ultimately going to lift ourselves and our country is through education. And we as a government continue to try our very best to encourage, to facilitate, financially and otherwise, our people to go off and take advantage of the various opportunities that are out there. I say it because it's a recurring problem that we get scholarships that are offered and not taken up. And so I continue to encourage our youngsters, rather than having your parents go to Face the Development Bank or some other bank and having that burden and responsibility for years to repay, take advantage of some of these free educational opportunities that are available. I believe even as I speak, the Taiwan scholarship opportunities are now open for application. I have seen others that have been opened from other countries, and I know that Turkey, for example, is offering scholarships. Morocco is offering scholarships. I think Romania is offering scholarships. And whilst many of us argue those places are too far, I would like to remind you that no place is too far. I believe it was only yesterday I was in Dubai, and I'm here now in Nevis. So no place is too far. Nowadays, the world is shrinking, and we must take advantage of it. We can't sit back in Brownhill or Barnesgate and say, well, this is my space. The world is advancing, and we must advance with it, and we must take advantage of every opportunity that is made available. Sometimes I wish I had these opportunities when I was a youngster, because to get the chance now to study in some of these places, to learn their culture and their language, and come home with a free degree. Let me say that again, a free degree. Could you imagine when you come home and you start to work, the first money you make, you start saving right away to your land and your house and your car, because you don't have student loan to pay. Free degree. Our people need to start to think and take advantage of these opportunities. And I'm tired of seeing poor people mortgaging everything they have because their child must go to America. They don't want to go this place, they don't want to go that place. Mind if you could afford it? Well, all power to you. But when you can't afford it and you're struggling, take advantage of these opportunities, please. Because when I go out in my different capacity as Minister of Foreign Affairs, and I beg and cajole foreign governments to offer these opportunities, I get very upset when they then come back a year or two later and say, not one person has stepped up. And so these opportunities are there, If I sound like a stock record, forgive me, but I'm passionate about it because I want to see our young people advance. And I don't like when I hear that nothing is being done for them when they have all these opportunities that they're not taking advantage of. I don't know what more I can do but to talk and talk and talk some more. And I believe I've asked the PS in Human Resources and the PS in Education that they both engage themselves in going to the schools and their staff in going to the schools and ensuring that the students are aware of what's available. I marvel all the time people say, I didn't know. How come people know everything that is bad? But when things are good, they don't know. So I'm also asking the public to put themselves in a position to know. Listen to the Premier's press conference sometimes. Listen to the news. And put yourself in a position to know, because there's so much that is available if only our people take advantage of it. I am pleased to announce that the Ministry of Culture will be starting its consultations for Culturama. The first one is tonight at 7 at the Pond Hill Community Center. And Mr. Evelyn is inviting one and all to come and be a part of that. This year, of course, we celebrate 45 years of Culturama. And we're twinning it again. We're going it again at the homecoming, where we're inviting our nationals abroad to come home and be a part of Culturama 45. And so Mr. Evelyn and his team have decided to hold a series of consultations where members of the public will have an opportunity to speak to Culturama, where we are and where we're going. So the first event is tonight at the Pond Hill Community Center at 7. Also, Mr. Evelyn has asked me to say that the Cultural Center in Gingerland, which will become the new home for Gingerama Community Festival, is well on its way. The center is being constructed at Cronies in Gingerland, and apart from hosting the annual Gingerama Festival, it will be used as a multi-purpose facility to teach the cultural and performing arts as well, and to host a variety of community activities. I think this is a project that the people of Gingerland have looked forward to for some time, and I'm happy that Minister Evelyn is delivering on that project for them. After much delay, ladies and gentlemen, we're pleased that all the contractors and everybody else involved for the construction of the pier at Oali Beach, they are back, they have returned, and I'm told that that construction, if it has not yet started, ought to start in earnest to finally get that long-awaited project completed. I want to thank Deputy Premier Alexis Jeffers. He has persevered. He has taken a lot of licks from us, I could tell you, in the cabinet, and I'm sure the public has been very concerned as well, but he has persevered. He has had faith where some of us had none, and through his faith, the folks have returned, and so we're hopeful that this time around we can get this project completed and done, and therefore in a position to serve the people of Nevis, and so we look forward to that. The Nisbet Plantation Primary Schools quiz will be held at NEPAC on Wednesday the 13th of February. I'm told that all the primary schools on the island will be participating. Last year, of course, the winner was Montessori Academy, and we look forward to see who will emerge the winner this year. We continue to thank Nisbet Plantation for being the good corporate citizen that they are and for them financing this event. The Ministry of Tourism will be hosting a community-based tourism training seminar from the 19th to the 23rd of February. The activity is aimed at promoting entrepreneurship and innovation in the private sector. Participants will receive a one-week face-to-face and interactive guidance on how to maximize the sustainable use of the natural and cultural heritage tourism assets of their host community. Bart Village has been selected as the pilot project, and the ministry intends to roll out similar projects in the near future. So all the people of Bart Village, we're asking you to avail yourself of that opportunity, which will take place, the training, from the 19th to the 23rd of February. They've also asked me to say that you should save the date. The Ministry of Tourism's month of activities, dubbed Exposition Nevis, will be held from April 14th to May 31st this year. I'm very pleased. As you know, it's been a pet project of mine for a long time. I'm taking some stick over it as well, and I understand that. But I am pleased today to announce that we are now well and truly on the way with the Pinnis Park project. I met about 10 days ago with the Taiwanese ambassador, as I had indicated on a previous press conference, that the Taiwanese had come to our aid, and I met with the Taiwanese ambassador. They have now positioned a technical expert on Nevis, and so the gentleman has moved to Nevis. He has taken up residence with us, and he will be with us for the duration of the project. His job will be to finalize the design, Currently, I'm advised that that design should be completed by March, and we should have groundbreaking by June of this year on that long-awaited project. And so I certainly look forward to that, and I believe, again, that we ought to give commendation and appreciation to the government and people of the Republic of China on Taiwan. Let me just move very quickly to the handing over of the lunchroom at the Cicely Brown Integrated School. New lunchroom was handed over to the students and staff there on Friday, the 25th of January 2019. This was a project that was funded by the Caribbean Development Bank through the BNTF Basic Needs Trust Fund Office. That office no longer exists on Nevis, but the Sustainable Development Unit in the Ministry of Social Development saw the project through to completion. The bulk of financing came from the CDB. The furniture for the lunchroom was made possible through a collaboration with the Ministry of Education, which also provided some funds. The Public Works Department had oversight of the project. The construction was done by James Hendrickson of Strong Joint Construction Services. We want to extend a special thanks to Mr. Alsted Pemberton and his staff at the Sustainable Development Unit for their dedication in seeing this project to fruition. Mrs. Clark, her staff and students are delighted, I'm told, for this new facility that will indeed make life at the school more comfortable for all. The building will not just be used as a lunchroom, it is also multifunctional because of its design and space. I would want to give a partial update on a matter involving Digicel and the cable. I believe that most of us would have been advised that there are some rate increases that have been proposed by Digicel and the cable. On those being proposed, Minister Brand and his team sprung into action, and they wrote to the entity, which is the National Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, NTRC, in St. Kitts, asking for the intervention and for some clarity to be provided as to how and when and in what circumstances rate increases can be dictated by these companies. I'm pleased that that engagement is ongoing, and as of 17 December 2018, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Works, Dr. Ernie Stapleton, has been in communication with the NTRC, and they've indicated that this is a matter that is under investigation. Of course, we are not anti-business. Businesses are designed to make money, but we want to ensure that the people of Nevis are treated fairly. And so I would commend very much Minister Brand, the Permanent Secretary, Dr. Stapleton, and their team for this quick action in that regard. If I can switch focus quickly to health and some developments there. We have had 3 activities conducted in January geared towards health screening, which can facilitate early diagnosis of cancer, among other health issues. Cancer is one of the leading causes of illness and death in our population. We're averaging 70 new cases per year, and about 20 of those are in Nevis. We are particularly pleased as 2 of the 3 are hosted by key health partners in collaboration with the Ministry of Health. We had a prostate screening that is now done annually by Dr. Thwaites and his team, and this year we broke the record because this year we had 670 men who were screened, and that is the largest number ever. This demonstrated that men can participate in activities to take care of their health. We encourage them to continue in this way, not only with prostate screening, but other health-related activities. We congratulate all involved, and particularly the menfolk, for taking advantage of this opportunity. 670, that's a new record for number of people screened at this event. Cervical cancer screening was held at all health centers on Saturday, January 26, where 134 women came out to do their pap smears. This activity was done for Cervical Cancer Month. Pap smears, let me remind the public, are conducted free at all health centers during the week as well. Free. Keep emphasizing that. Because if something is free, it means that you have no reason not to take advantage of it. You can't argue that you don't have any money. The only thing you need is the effort on your part. And I'm inviting and encouraging our people. I was a little concerned about the numbers. Because if 670 men went to get their prostate checked, how come only 134 women went to get their pap smears? Is it that men are now taking their health more seriously than women? I hope that's not the message that these numbers are sending. We have to take this thing seriously. And we all know that early detection saves lives. I am told that early screening for prostate, if detected early, it's almost 100% curable. If detected too late, it's almost 100% fatal. Similarly with cervical cancer. If the pap smears can show the cell changes early, then it can be treated early and you have a much higher chance of not developing cervical cancer and therefore not dying due to cervical cancer. So I'm appealing, I used to appeal a lot to the men. The men appear to be listening. So I'm appealing out to the women. Please go out and do your pap smears and screen for cervical cancer. These numbers don't encourage me because it tells me that many more women should take advantage of these opportunities. And whilst this was a particular exercise, I want to emphasize that pap smears are done all the time at the health centers and they're free. Get back to that word, they're free. It means that this government is providing that service free of cost to members of the public. The last event was a colon screening in partnership with visiting surgeon Dr. Spencer Amry and his team from New York. That activity will conclude this week and is also an annual activity. And I want to thank Dr. Amry and his team. So again, the emphasis, of course, from our health care, and Madam Minister Hazel Brandy Williams is here. She has led with great distinction, and the emphasis is really early detection, people taking responsibility for their health. I see her now in all kind of videos in the gym working out as well, so she's leading from the front. Leading from the front. In fact, she somehow roped my wife into it, so my wife now come putting pressure and pour me at home with some long list of do's and don'ts and sending me to the supermarket to buy special food to eat and all kinds of things. Bottom line is, I think that we who are in leadership position need to show leadership and healthier lifestyles. Small changes. Doesn't need to be anything dramatic. Small changes. Doing some exercise. Eating properly. I think these are things that can prolong our lives. And of course, getting your checks, screening, finding out what's wrong with you. Too many of us, we feel in pain and we feel in pain for years and we keep saying it's gas. Oh, you know, I feel a pain here. It must be the cold weather. All kinds of things. By the time we go and find out, we're told you have only a matter of months to live. We need to take charge. And maybe some of us are afraid. I could understand that. A friend of mine told me he preferred not to know. But the truth is, if you know, you can treat and deal with it. And so I want to commend those who have been involved. I'm told that we have had a chronic shortage of nurses, as we know. We're making some progress. 3 new nurses have started at the Alexandra Hospital so far this year, including 1 male. All are from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Another 3 are expected to start by April, and these are from St. Vincent and the Philippines, including another 2 males. Now, why am I emphasizing this? Because nursing has been a profession traditionally here in Nevis, which has been dominated by females. And I'm saying that males as well can enter the nursing profession. Just like policing, it is a noble profession, and we encourage those. And we have not been able to find enough local people to fill these roles, and that is why we have gone overseas and bringing in people from St. Vincent and the Philippines and places such as those. So again, for young people looking for a career, we're encouraging you to consider nursing, both male and female youngsters, to look at nursing as a possibility. I would want to again commend Madam Minister. She has argued long and hard about her staffing needs. She and the Permanent Secretary, Mrs. Slack-Libert, who's here, and we are responding. Slowly but surely we are responding, and it is my hope that we can get our staffing up to the full complement that we need to ensure that we continue to provide quality health care at our main hospital facility. A team from the University of Virginia visited again this month for their January term class. This year the focus was on disaster and health issues including cancer. This is the 11th year of this partnership. 20 students and 4 professors were in this group. The next group is expected in May. And for those who are wondering what I'm talking about, the University of Virginia has had now an 11-year relationship with Nevis and have in fact come time and time again and have had experts from Nevis, including the PS of Health, Mrs. Slack-Libert, who has contributed to various studies that they've done here. And so we are quite pleased that they continue this partnership and look forward to that partnership being continued for many more years. The Gender Affairs Department, the men's group, celebrated their 5th anniversary on the 26th of January. This group of men meet regularly to discuss issues affecting men, including their health. Madam Minister and PS, might I suggest that we need a women's group to discuss pap smears and things like that, because it looks like the men are discussing what they need to discuss and getting the results based on the numbers. Let me switch to the Ministry of Agriculture to say that under the leadership of the Deputy Premier Alexis Jeffers, they would have hosted a successful retreat on Monday the 21st of January at the Nevis Performing Arts Center. They brought together staff, farmers, as well as students. The audience was addressed by the Minister and by me as the Premier, setting out the goals really for the ministry and the retreat. Representatives from allied agencies such as FAO, AICA, and the Republic of China, Taiwan also made presentations on this very important initiative. I want to commend the PS Huey Sargent for his leadership and the continued efforts that we're making in agriculture to feed ourselves, a very important target for any country, to feed ourselves. And so we are working assiduously in that direction. The Open Day for Agriculture is being planned for March 28th and 29th this year. I'm told it's going to be the biggest that we would have had. And this is the 25th edition of that particular activity. The theme, Think Climate Smart, Food and Nutrition Security and Sustainability for our 25th anniversary. The focus is very much on local production of what we eat, and a number of other features will be showcased as support services and opportunities in the sector. It promises to be a very exciting event, and I'm told the only thing bigger than the Open Day on the annual calendar is maybe Culturama. See how they both feel? Maybe Culturama, they say, is bigger. And so certainly they're doing a major event there for the Open Day 25th anniversary. On Tuesday the 29th, there was a handing over of an automatic weather station to the island, which would add to the meteorological network that already exists on the island. This station comes compliments of the United States Agencies for International Development, USAID, Climate Change Adaptation Program, and the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center. Station is capable of collecting measurements in rainfall, wind speed, wind direction, radiation, temperature, and atmospheric pressure, and transmits automatically to local and international agencies. In education, I'm very pleased that we have embarked with the federal government on the whole revision of our curriculum, and that process has started in earnest with some meetings from the 21st to 26th of January. We had meetings, a team of 6 from Mind Bloom Consulting in association with St. Francis Xavier University was in the Federation and has held discussions. There are many people out there who say that the curriculum is outdated, that we need to modernize, we need to develop, we need newer and fresher ideas to educate our children. And I think that this is the golden opportunity now for those who have been agitating and advocating to come forward with their suggestions as to what we need to do. Do we need more vocational training? Perhaps we do. Do we need more skill sets added, different subjects? Do we need different methodologies of teaching? All of these are matters, I think, that this committee will look at. On Friday, the 25th of January, the team visited learning institutions on both islands to observe the teaching and learning environment. On Saturday, the 26th of January, the Principal Education Officer and consulting team engaged students on a Youth on the Go, which was aired live on Vaughan Radio. The mission is the first of at least 5 that will be held over the next 2 years as the Ministry of Education on both islands work to enhance our national curriculum and assessment system and the teacher learning environment. It is anticipated that all curriculum and assessment frameworks will be completed by mid-2019. Development of curriculum guides will be done between June to December 2019 by a combination of local experts and consultants. The enhanced curriculum and assessment system will be piloted from January to June of 2020 with a full plan for rollout thereafter. I should also say, in the context of skills training and TVET, vocational training, that on Wednesday the 23rd of January, a contract was signed for the consultancy services for the design, engineering and construction supervision at the Ministry of Education Conference Room in St. Kitts. This is for the purpose of the detailed design and supervision of the construction phase of the TVET enhancement project for the construction and renovation of the multipurpose centers at the Charleston and secondary schools. The contract was awarded to an entity called FDL Consult Inc. This is a consultancy company with headquarters in St. Lucia, which was represented at the ceremony by their founder, Gilbert Fontenard. And that is the effort, of course, that we have long promised in the context of TVET and trying to get our people certified and have the necessary skills certificates to move us forward. A few other quick matters. I'm told that I can't say too much because there's an embargo on the information, whatever reason. But I wanted to alert the Nevision public that through the Ministry of Tourism and the Nevis Tourism Authority, we have been working for some time on trying to diversify the tourism product that is being offered. And we have not done everything, I suppose, publicly, in the sense we have not made grand announcements. But we have been tweaking and fiddling and trying to see how we can do that. And we had an approach many months ago by some individuals who indicated that, well, they were telling us what we already know. Nevis is one of the most beautiful places on the earth. And that they thought that Nevis had the capacity to become one of the great destinations for fashion and photo shoots. We have been working very closely with them, and whilst I can't say much, I can say that we've had the first major photo shoot on the island for a major international magazine, which happened here, bringing some major models and major people in the press. Am I overusing the word major? Perhaps it's just been a major event for the island. And so this is what we hope will be the first in many of these events. I'm told that they had a crew of about 12 people who were here and that they shot across the island. And we hope, they say, that this international magazine, fashion magazine, one of the leading fashion magazines internationally, that they will be publishing around May, at which point they're saying we can go public with all kinds of press releases. But at this point, I can just say how pleased I am that this collaboration has borne its first fruit, and it is my hope. Matter of fact, I'm told that the photographer and one of the models loved it so much that they've extended their stay in Nevis. And so I am hopeful that this is the start of something special and that we can really proceed to get that niche market. We've seen it happen in other islands. St. Bart's is a good example, where there are lots of major magazines and fashion houses that do shoots there. And so I'm happy to see that Nevis is now a part of that, and we hope that we'll do much more in that regard. In terms of airlift, the Van Samre International Airport, we know that's been a perennial problem. I continue, of course, to invite the Nevision public, those who are traveling from Nevis, those who are coming into Nevis, invite our stakeholders, the hotels, etc., that they play a role in promoting the use of the Van Samre Airport. Truth is that the flights are there, they are available, and we can connect people through San Juan, we can connect them through St. Martin, we can connect them through Antigua, and many choose not to use the flights. You can't have it both ways. We cannot choose not to use the airport and then criticize the government saying the airport is dead. I think that we have sought to do our part, which is to have a facility which is safe, facility which is regulated, just like the facility on St. Kitts. We have brought the flights at great cost and expense to the taxpayers of the country. And when we don't use the flights and they fly empty, we still have to pay. So I'm inviting our people once again to use the Van Samre Airport. To that end, we have commissioned an ad campaign. I believe it's dubbed Fly Local. Just as the agriculture has Eat Local, we're saying Fly Local. And that ad campaign, we hope, is to be released very shortly. I'm told the finishing touches are being done on that. And in that regard, the Cabinet has also considered a proposal from a company called B&L Worldwide Limited to create a hub facility at the Van Samre Airport. That will entail an arrangement where the facility is leased to this entity, and that entity will have responsibility for construction and upgrades and development. And I think that we will hear more about that in the ensuing weeks and months. But we are at the final stages of those discussions with them, recognizing that we need transportation, and transportation links are critical if we are to develop the island. So I wanted to just point that out, that this is another development that we are working on and trying to get greater traffic through the Van Samre International Airport. We think it augurs well for the island of Nevis and its development. On the issue of crime, we had a very unfortunate incident of having a shooting on the morning of January 1st here in Nevis, and regrettably one of those victims has succumbed to his injuries, meaning that Nevis again has a dubious distinction of recording the first homicide for the year. This is no reflection on the police, on the government, it's a reflection on the community. And I keep saying that crime is a social problem and the entire society needs to confront it. We need to continue to speak to these youngsters who are going around and who feel that the only way to settle disputes is through violence, and say to them that there is absolutely no future in a life of crime. They're either going to end up at the Britannic or they're going to end up in St. Kitts at the jail. There's really no other place that they're going to go. They may delay it, but that's the inevitable destination. And so I am asking the youngsters who might be listening, and their parents, if the youngsters are not listening, to talk to their sons and daughters and to say to them that there is no future in crime. And too many of our youngsters are giving up their lives over foolishness. I talk to some of them all the time and I say, well, why are you engaged in this activity? And they start to tell you some Nancy story about when they were at Gingerland High School, before Noah built the ark, somebody had disrespected them. And here they are, grown men and women, some of them with children of their own. And because somebody disrespected them in Todd Farm, they now have beef and taking up guns to say they're killing people. I am inviting them and appealing to them and appealing to us, the adults, to talk to them. Some may say that my tone and language is too harsh sometimes, but it's a life and death situation, literally. And we need to talk to them. I want to commend the police for the efforts that they continue to put in. Superintendent David is here. He has taken over the leadership here in Nevis. And I think that the statistics aren't great, but they're improving for Nevis. One crime, I always say, is one too many. But, for example, I have the statistics in front of me, and this is for the year up to last year, up to November. So the last numbers that I got. And it shows that what major crimes of murder, manslaughter, shooting with intent, attempted murder, sex crimes, robberies, etc. That of the major crimes category, we had recorded 188 crimes in 2016, 179 crimes in 2017, and 168 crimes in 2018. So we are seeing a gradual decline in the number of major crimes. 188 in 2016, 179 in 2017, 168 in 2018. And my challenge, Superintendent David, Inspector Carty, see if you can get that number down even further, year in, year out. And once we continue to do that, I think we'll be trending in the right direction. The police in Nevis 50.8% in 2017, and up to November of last year, a rate of 47%. So the detection rate dipped slightly, but when viewed in its context, that internationally, I'm told, 1 in 3 is the acceptable detection rate for professional police forces. It means that we are still punching well above our weight in that regard. I would like every crime to be detected. Matter of fact, I would like no crime to be committed. But the truth is that when we assess the performance of the police, we must assess it against international standards. And to have had a detection rate of 52% and now at 47%, it means that they are doing well. There's room for improvement, to be sure, but they're doing well in the sense of doing much above the internationally accepted norm of 1 in 3. So we're doing more than that, and so I encourage the police to continue. In the dreaded area of murder, manslaughter, 2016 we had 5, total of 5 on the island of Nevis. 2017 that jumped to 8, and 2018 we were back down to 5. Again, 1 is 1 too many, but to move from 8 back to 5 means again that we're trending in the right direction. Regrettably, 2019 has started badly for us, but we are hopeful that we can get through the rest of the year without any incidents of crimes of this nature. We have seen shooting at with intent drop from a high of 7 in 2016 to a low of 1 in 2018. We have seen other crimes drop precipitously, such as such as larceny, which has dropped from a high of 27 in 2016 down to a low of 22 in 2018. Where we have seen an increase, however, is in robberies. It was at 10 in 2016, 7 in 2017, and 13 in 2018. And I think that it was consistent with what we were hearing from the police, that more of these youngsters were out there involved in robberies. It was also consistent with what we were hearing, that the same group of people might have been the ones perpetrating some of these robberies. And so we continue to invite the police to do their work, and we continue to invite the public to assist the police in doing their work so that we can bring crime down and continue to work together to bring crime down. The promotions the police have had, the cooperation, the efforts by the government to partner with them are all in an effort to bring crime down. But we cannot do it by ourselves. We need the continued involvement of the population. I will leave the issue of crime and end by extending my warm congratulations and appreciation to Mrs. Slack-Liebert, Nicole Slack-Liebert. She's here with us. She has been a bright light in the health and the delivery of health services here on the island. She took over at my urging the Ministry of Health as a permanent secretary in 2013. And she has been leading, I think, with great distinction that ministry. She has now, I'm told, transitioned or is in the process of transitioning to higher heights. So Nevis is too small for her now. So she's taken a position regionally with PAHO. And I want to commend you, Mrs. Slack-Liebert, for your efforts. I want to wish you all the very best. I want to thank you for the brilliant years you've given us here in Nevis, and hope that your new role at the regional level will benefit you, and that you will benefit the role, and that Nevis, I believe Nevis will continue to benefit from your expertise, regardless of where you may go. And Madam Minister, perhaps you can tap into her now to get more assistance from PAHO, and to get PAHO to do a bit more here. But certainly, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to congratulate Mrs. Slack-Liebert and to wish her all the very best in her new role as she continues on her path in terms of health and the delivery of health care, not only now in Nevis, but regionally. And that is as it should be. That is what I keep saying, that our people are never limited except by the extent of their ambitions. And once our people put their minds to it, they can achieve what they wish to achieve. And Mrs. Slack-Liebert, I hope that I don't put you in too much politics, but PAHO does have leadership, and it is my hope. I think the current leader is Mrs. Etienne, I think, from Dominica. So a Caribbean personality is already leading PAHO. So set your heights, set your sights at the highest levels. I think that in the fullness of time, there's no reason why you could not be the director and the person controlling PAHO in the fullness of time. So let us continue to encourage each other, and let us wish Mrs. Slack-Liebert all the very best in her new role. With those few comments, I had some information on fiscal outcomes, but I'll leave that and invite the press, members of the press, to ask questions if they have any. And if they have none, I'll be pleased as well to say thank you and to move on. Good morning, good morning. Good morning to you.
Government officials and also the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, a very happy new year filled with peace, love and harmony.
Thank you, Mr. Hanley.
Mr. Premier, I have several questions here for you. The roof repairing program. When is the roof repairing program that is a part of the Hurricane Relief Fund come to the island of Nevis? Or is it solely a St. Kitts program? That is question number one.
Okay, you want to give me all your questions, or you want to pause?
No, I wanted to respond, and then if that.
Okay. The roof repair program, you had asked on that, and at the time I'd indicated that as far as I was aware, it was a program that was being handled in St. Kitts and administered in St. Kitts. I'm pleased to announce, however, that we have had some discussions with the federal government about the possibility here. I think we've charged Minister Evelyn and Sustainable Development to ascertain what damage might have been done, and for those who still may need some assistance. We are working through the details on that. I think that the total that was given by our disaster preparedness professionals at the time was 3.5 million EC dollars worth of damage to homes. That did not include the damage, of course, to the government, such as the pier and the losses in agriculture and the losses of the water system and all of that. That was just to homes. We, of course, would have had at the time a situation where we provided some concessions, and we advised that many homeowners would have taken advantage of the duty-free and all of that and repaired their own homes. For those who have not yet done so, we're in the process of collecting that data. We would hope to be in a position very soon to announce what we can do to assist those homeowners who are still in some distress. So that is where we are at the moment, and we certainly would look to the support provided from the federal government in order to implement any repairs that are left to be done on the island of Nevis.
Sounds good. Mr. Premier, was the extra length of the pier at Orly accounted for in the initial EIA? And if not, has the new EIA been commissioned?
The short answer is no, that we did not account for the extra length. The extra length we do not believe is going to invalidate the EIA that was done. You will recall, Mr. Hanley and the members of the press, that initially when we started on this project, we discovered that there was some difficulties, some shortcomings in the EIA, and the government took a decision to suspend the project whilst we await the conclusion, if you will, of that EIA process. That led us to about a 6-week, Deputy Premier, about a 6-week delay, which, had we not done that, the pier would have been finished, because it really, as a result of that delay, that the people were here idle. But we thought it was important. So we take the environment very seriously. In our view, however, the extension that is being talked about is really an extension that is designed to facilitate increased traffic that we're seeing. And we have said that we will partner with this industry. It's an industry which is organic. It has grown up almost overnight. And it's an industry which is nearly 100% owned by Nevisians. So we thought it important to partner with them. We do not see that there's a need for an additional EIA, because that entire area was assessed under the terms of the original EIA. And the extension that is proposed is really to assist the water taxi operators, to give them the kind of facility in terms of berthing. I'm sure, Mr. Hanley, if you've ever taken the water taxis, I'm sure most of us have done so at some point, you'd realize sometimes when you're coming in, the current facility that is there, only one can dock at a time, and sometimes you have to wait whilst that one docks and then leaves for another to come in, etc. So this idea really is to provide a more modern facility and to accommodate as many as possible insofar as the water taxi operators are concerned.
Can you give us the reason for the long delay? You know that pier was down for a couple of months. Can you give us a reason?
The reason for the delay is simple. We had an ongoing discussion with the developers, the contractors. They left here sometime, I think it was September of last year. Having done the initial part, I think it was September when some storms were threatening. And they indicated to us at that point that they were going back to St. Martin where they're based. They would get some additional materials and equipment and return. That has translated into now several months. And we have had various assurances. They've given the Deputy Premier assurances. They've given the government assurances. I have had assurances. And those assurances in the past have not borne fruit in terms of when they'll be here. They've had a number of problems. Apparently, the latest problem they had was the tug that they used was not seaworthy. So they had to get a tug from someplace else. I think they eventually got one from Antigua. And that tug, when that tug arrived, was when they were now able to come to Nevis. I'm just content that they're finally here. And that is why I said that it has really been a long and frustrating process. But the hope is that now they're here. And I believe anybody who drives by sees that the equipment and everything is here, that we can get that pier finalized now. So the expectation would be that they would stay now until they finish the job. Okay. And that is the situation.
And the extra $50,000, is that for labor or
which equipment? Extra $50,000?
The extra $50,000 that is being commissioned on the Orly pier.
Well, I know that we've agreed to pay an additional amount for the extension, bearing in mind that we have increased the scope of work. But I don't know that $50,000 figure. Not sure where that is coming from.
Okay. Okay,
But we have agreed
look into it then.
We have agreed to pay additional amounts because we have added the work. Because
Okay.
they're now moving the pier from 100 and they've added 120 feet.
Okay.
Right? We moved from 196 feet to 300 feet.
All right.
Right? So we added
But
that amount.
the construction will start in short order then.
Well, yes, as I said, they're all here
All right.
on island. Yes.
Okay. Four Seasons. Mr. Premier, during the month of June to October, will Four Seasons workers get their severance pay and be assured of re-employment when operations resume in October?
Well, I can't say that, Mr. Hanley. Severance, by its definition, means that you're no longer in the job.
Mm-hmm.
That's what severance means. Severance means that you've severed your relationship with the employer.
Okay.
People are entitled to seek severance pay,
Uh-huh.
of course. But if you seek that route, then come October when the hotel reopens, you'll have to reapply. And I can't tell you that Four Seasons is going to take back everybody. At that stage, I'm not the Four Seasons. What I can say is that they've offered to hold on to their workers by paying them a 25% of their salary during the closure. We all know that the closure comes at a time when, in any event, a lot of workers are only working 2 days a week because it's in the low season, June, July, August, and September. In fact, in September, sometimes the occupancy down there dips to 20% or lower. So we know that they've decided to close at a time when it would cause the least amount of pain, being the off-season. But it is a matter for workers. Workers can determine that they would prefer to treat it as a severance and seek their severance payment from the government. If that is the case, then come October when the hotel reopens, they will have to reapply.
I understand that option is not available, severance pay. Are you confirming that it is?
I don't know that the option is not available. My understanding is...
It is available.
My understanding of the law says that if you are out of work for a particular period of time, I think it is 12 weeks, then you're entitled to claim severance. The danger, well, I may not use the word danger, the risk of going down that road is that you claim your severance, but then you have no guarantee, clearly, of employment in October. Some may have other options, and so they say, well, let me take my severance and go do something else, and that's certainly available to them. The Four Seasons in their discussions with us had indicated that the reason why they want to pay the 25%, which let me say clearly they're not obligated by law to do. They have opted to do it because clearly they would want to hold on to their workers and guarantee their workers that when the grand reopening occurs in October, that those workers will be at work. Mm-hmm. If there are people out there who, of course, have a different view and decide, well, we don't want any 25%, we're just going to take our severance payment, then, of course, that is their right under the law. But the difficulty with that, as I said, is that come October, they would have already severed their relationship with the Four Seasons and would have to reapply. And if employed in October, start over. So they might have had 10 years, 15 years already, and they would essentially be a new job, so to speak. So that is really what workers have to determine. What I can say, Mr. Hanley, is we are here as a government to support the workers. Mm-hmm. We are very committed to their welfare. We understand that this is going to create hardship for everyone, but the reality is that it is a temporary closure. We have sufficient warning that we've in fact this is what we're hoping people will do.
All right, thank you for that. Mr. Premier, you have traveled to Dubai 2 times in 3 months. Can you explain why the frequent trips to Dubai, number one? And number two, what have you accomplished in Dubai for the people of Nevis and also the people of St. Kitts?
Okay, Dubai, my last occasion I went to Dubai was at the invitation of the government there. They invited ministers from all of CARICOM to come and hold meetings with them. Those were meetings in the context of the continued diplomatic efforts with the government of Dubai. Coming out of that, I can say that we were able to confirm that Nevis is going to get a desalination plant project, and St. Kitts will get one as well, which will be entirely done through renewables because the power for it is going to be generated by solar. So that will, I think, be good news for us when we can get that commissioned, because that will add to our water supply and in a way that doesn't take from our electricity supply because it will be self-contained. So they're going to do one project in Nevis and one in St. Kitts, the same project, which is desalination powered by solar. So I was happy to get that confirmed. That was a matter that was in some discussions before. On the last occasion when I was there, I also had private bilateral meetings with Reem Hashimi, who is the Under Minister with responsibility for foreign relations, particularly the Caribbean, and we discussed various factors. It's in Nevis. I think that we've made some progress in that regard as well. For completeness, the visa waiver would be important to us because of the significance of the UAE in the Middle East region, and that if our people can travel there, and more of our people are now traveling there, then we can do so visa-free. So that is a discussion which is ongoing. This trip that I've just been on was at very short notice. I was asked by the Prime Minister to lead a delegation there involving the Attorney General, Vincent Byron Jr., and Mr. Les Can, who is the CEO of the Citizenship by Investment Unit, to deal with some issues involving the citizenship by investment. So it was a very specific remit, and we had, I think, some very successful meetings in that regard, and I returned in less than 24 hours. So it was a very short trip for the purpose of that meeting, specifically with service providers there. And so that is really what I can report in terms of those two trips.
All right, thank you for that. Mr. Premier, St. Kitts Music Festival. Can you confirm the amount of entertainment acts coming from Nevis that will participate in St. Kitts Music Festival?
I don't know. I don't know, Mr. Hanley. I'm not, as you know, involved with the St. Kitts Music Festival. It's not organized by the Nevis Island Administration, nor do I have any role to play in its organization. I don't know if they're Nevis acts or not. I can say that one particular artist came to me and approached me about his band being on the festival. That was, I think, about a week ago. I reached out to the organizers on behalf of that band, and I was told then that it was too late, that they had already made all the arrangements for the festival, and I reported that back to that particular band. But beyond that, I can't say who's involved because the government is not involved in any way in the music festival in St. Kitts.
I understand it's 35 acts, and at the moment it's 0 for Nevis. Okay. Probably that will grow in the coming months, but at the moment it's 0. And can you confirm, can you give us some hope that they will get at least 5 acts?
Well, as I said again, I have nothing to do with the music festival, and I don't want to be put in a position where I'm asked to confirm things over which I have no control. If you ask me who's going to be here for Culture Am, I can have the minister speak to that. That is something within the country.
Can you have a word with the minister down in St. Kitts, though?
Well, as I told you, I did approach on behalf of a specific band that got in touch with me, and I was told that it was too late, that they had already finalized their arrangements with their various artists. Beyond that, I can't speak to the matter of who is going to perform at the St. Kitts Music Festival.
But you will try, though. You will at least try to secure some acts.
I think I've answered you in every way, shape, and form that I possibly can. Asking the question a million times will not get a different response.
Okay.
Bottom line is that the music festival is something put on in St. Kitts.
Yes.
It is a matter for the authorities on St. Kitts. And on the one occasion that I was approached, I did just last week, and was told that it was too late.
It's too late for any more acts?
It was for that band that approached me.
Okay.
I said that I approached them on behalf of that band, and I was told that it was too late in the day for that band to be a part of it because they had already settled the arrangements with the various acts. That is what I was told, and that is what I reported back.
Okay. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
And enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Monique Washington, St. Kitts Nevis Observer newspaper.
Good morning, Ms. Washington.
Mr. Premier, last year, persons who owe hospital bills were encouraged to come in and pay. Can you give us an update on that? Has persons been coming in to pay? And if they don't pay, what will be the repercussions for that? Next question. With the departure of Ms. Nichols Lack-Liburd, has anyone been in mind to take her place? And the last question, I was made to understand that NEVLEC would have privatized the portion of the meter readers to a private company. Can you tell us a little bit about that contract, when it began, who has the contract, what will it cost the people of Nevis, and why did the NIA or NEVLEC decide to go that route? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. As usual, you've asked some important questions. The hospital and payments, I do not have the figures, but I do know that the effort has been ongoing to encourage, really it's been a wholesale effort by the government to encourage people to be responsible. That's what it comes down to. Whether it's in your hospital fees, your water bill, your electricity bill, to be responsible. You cannot expect to consume the service and then don't pay for it. Already hospital services here are very cheap compared to other places. And even as cheap as they are, some people waltz in and waltz out and refuse to pay. So we have really been inviting people who owe the hospital to pay. Because when you pay, you make it possible not only for yourself to come back at some other time, but also for others to be able to come. The government cannot continue to have the system, which is almost nearly free, be abused. That basically is what it has come down to. So we have made that effort. I do not, and forgive me, I can't get you the numbers. I know I had them over the budgetary period, but I do know that we have increased collections at the hospital from that effort. But I can't give you raw numbers today, and I would undertake, if you so desire, to get those numbers to you. What we will do if people don't pay, we hope we don't have to take people to court for non-payment of hospital bills. We hope we don't have to take people to court for non-payment of their tax or their NEVLEC bill or their water bill. But we are talking to our citizens. We're inviting them to be responsible. But we're also saying to them that, it has to be a partnership. And if you consume the service, you have to be prepared to pay for the service, particularly that the service is already priced at such a low rate. And so we invite our people. We have a society here, Ms. Washington, which sometimes is a little puzzling, because our people tend to find money for what they want to find money for. So, music festival, I think Mr. Hanley just spoke about that. You'll see the boats moving. You'll see the outfits. You'll see the hairstyles, the nails, all of that. And that will be spent for a weekend of fun. Nothing is wrong with that. I myself enjoy music festival. But then you say to them, well, you were in the hospital last year. No, they're not paying that. And I think part of it is our priorities. We need to start to, as I said, act responsibly and be responsible. So people take money. For example, if they're going to go away for medical care, before the doctors and the hospitals and things see you in America, you have to have money in advance. You have to send the money up front. And people find the money to do that. But then they refuse to pay Alexandria, where they will spend 5 nights. I think at current, what do we charge?
$25 per night.
$25. And for that you get 3 meals, a bed, your medication, $25. And air condition, I'm reminded. And people refuse to pay. So what do you think we should do, Ms. Washington, if people, despite the entreaties and the efforts, refuse to pay? Amnesty? Well, that is an option, amnesty, but having granted amnesty once, you're going to keep granting it? Sickness is something that is there for all of us. So if even we grant amnesty this year and say, fine, it's all wiped away, what happens next year when the people come back? And what happens to the culture, the thinking? We need to get ourselves into the frame of mind that these things cannot be provided free of cost. Because if they are, they have to be funded some other way. So it may well be that we say, okay, all the care at the hospital is free, but people are going to have to pay a tax to support that. Then you hear a different type of argument now, or you're taking out my money. So we have to, as I said, be responsible. And not just look at it as a free-for-all, because the beds cost money, the linens cost money, the medication costs money. We have to pay the doctors and the nurses every month. You hear me just talk about new nurses that we're bringing on stream. It doesn't fall from the air like manna. And so we have to encourage our citizenry to be responsible. So I don't know yet. It will be a matter for the Ministry of Health and the technical team to advise what they feel is the best approach. But certainly we have beefed up the staff there in terms of collections, and I think we've seen some results. PS Health, you asked me what we're thinking. All I can answer and say, we are thinking. And we will in time make the necessary announcements. But certainly I think we have some good candidates throughout the public service who might be interested. And if they are, then they should step up and show their interest in taking over the role. I will tell them they will have some very big shoes to fill, because I think Mrs. Slack-Liebert wore like a size 20. So they'll have some very, very big shoes to fill in terms of stepping into that position. But we will, no doubt, have the opportunity to make an announcement in the fullness of time. NEVLEC, the chairman of NEVLEC is here. Yes, we have privatized the meter reading aspect of it. I was advised that it comes at no additional cost to the company. That is, that what we were paying them before when they were employed to the company, they continue to get. What I will say, Ms. Washington, and I think it's an excellent question, because it allows me an opportunity to indicate that part of the problem we were having is that the meter readers that we had were all aging, and had really come to an age when they would be retiring, if you will, from the public service, loosely to include NEVLEC as a statutory corporation. We were having a difficulty hiring young people, because if you hire a young person from one area of Nevis, he can't go read meter in another area of Nevis. He say he's fearful to go into some areas because of this gang foolishness that we've had in the country for some years. And I use the language of foolishness because that's what it is, foolishness. And I say that because you see that young people are denying themselves the opportunity even for work because of their affiliations. So we had a real problem where NEVLEC was saying to us that they cannot get young people for the meter reading jobs because young fellows especially can't go in some areas in Nevis to read meter. So if you hire them, you could tell yourself that you're not going to collect any money from people in some areas, or you will have to send them estimated bills. And so the company took the decision, which I agreed with, that they would simply allow those involved to do it on a contractual basis with NEVLEC at no additional cost. And then what NEVLEC has sought to do is to absorb, so there was no loss of jobs, absorb some of those who were involved in that, in the main activities, and of course some of the meter readers have gone with those who were involved in that project of meter reading. And I'm told thus far, it's still new, but it's working fine thus far. So we hope that that will continue. So those were the real reasons behind that effort to outsource it and to allow those who are seasoned in it to continue that process. What's his name? We're struggling with the name here. But you know the guy Jojo? You know he's a Calypsonian. You make me blue? Yeah. You get away? So Jojo was one of the guys who was very involved, and so, we thought that we would move in that direction. Yeah. Any other questions?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning, Premier Brantley, Mr. Brown on radio. We just have a few questions for you, Premier Brantley. Of course, it is first and foremost regarding crime, as you mentioned. You touched on the fact, of course, in recent times that Nevis has unfortunately started a trend, started or gotten the ball rolling with regards to homicides in recent times. What does the government, or more so the police force, plan to do to break that chain, basically? And also in that light, we understand that in the latter part of 2018, it was reasonably quiet, thank God, with regards to homicides. But it is our view and our understanding that, of course, it is the responsibility of the government and the police that when things happening in that vein, you have to say, and of course, if it's quiet, you have to speak about it or give the public a sensitization, so to speak. But a comment in that regard is simply this, that from you, of course, is simply this, that do you think that perhaps when it's quiet, you shouldn't say anything in that regard? Because why I ask that? Because it is our observation that when it's quiet and, officials or authorities go on the radio to talk about the quietness in that regard, it's like the killers are listening, and then they start up again. So the question is basically that, do you think that, you should, tone it down in that regard, so to speak? The other question is regarding housing. In your budget address in 2018, you mentioned that houses will be constructed in a few areas for this year being 2019. Could you give a time frame as to when exactly? And finally, regarding healthcare, it is understood based on unconfirmed reports that the ambulance services takes a little too long, or it's a bit tedious for them to get to certain destinations, and as a result, person succumbs to their injuries. What does the government plan to do to improve the healthcare services in that regard? So, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much for the questions. Let me start where you stopped. Ambulance services. I'm not aware that anybody on the island has died as a result of an ambulance getting to them late. Madam Minister, I'm not aware. That has not come to my attention. We recognize that perhaps when people are in crisis, as people are when they're ill, that seconds seem like minutes and minutes seem like hours. But the truth is that I feel we have had a good record of responding to alarms that are sent out and requests that are sent out for assistance. A matter of fact, we had a recent situation where my very good friend Carlisle Pemberton, better known as Bingy, was attacked outside his home. And one of the things, I was at the hospital the night, and one of the things that all who were there were talking about was the speed at which the ambulance services responded to that particular call. So I don't know where you're getting that information from, but that is not consistent with what we have had, and we are not aware of anyone who would have died because of the delays in the ambulance getting to them. We, however, recognize that not all the areas in Nevis are as accessible as we would like. We recognize that some areas are farther away from the hospital than others, and understandably will take a bit longer time. We also recognize that sometimes, depending on where people are, it is difficult because of the directions to get there. Some people are living up in the hills and that kind of thing. So we realize there are a number of variables that might impact the time, but we have not had a complaint in that regard, and I'm certain that I can say with good authority that we've not had any deaths resulting from that. So I would dispel that. Housing, I believe that Deputy Premier would have announced the housing that we anticipate this year. I believe that those projects are really projects that are ongoing. University Heights, I believe, the preparatory work is already being done. And so this housing that we announced in the budget was housing that is intended to happen in 2019. It's January now, the end of January, and I believe that those projects are already ongoing around the island. So I would expect that throughout this year you'd see those homes being constructed. I'm not so sure I understood your question about toning it down. It seems to me that you were suggesting that when there's a period of quiet, we shouldn't say there's a period of quiet because the criminals are listening, and therefore they will make it less quiet if we say that there's a period of quiet. I'm here to tell you that I'm the Premier of Nevis, and I will have to speak as is necessary. When we have difficulties, the public looks for leadership, and we must speak to those difficulties and suggest solutions. Equally, when we see that efforts are bearing fruit, we must also speak to that, because in that way we encourage our police and we encourage our community in terms of those efforts bearing fruit. I do not know if criminals are out there listening to hear what the government is saying in order for them to decide, well, let me go and shoot somebody or rob some place because it's a long time we haven't had a shooting or robbery. If that is the case, then I don't know about it. But if that is the case, what I will say to them, since you're suggesting that they're listening, is that there is no room for them in our society and in our community. That there are opportunities for work, there are opportunities for gainful employment, and that we're prepared to partner with everybody as a government to provide access to meaningful employment and making a contribution to the island. But if they embark on a path of criminality, it only leads to two possible places: the jailhouse or the cemetery. So it's a matter for them. And I want to make that very clear since you suggest they're listening. So we will talk when it's necessary to talk, and if we have a period of calm and we feel that the strategies that the police are working hard at, every morning I get a report from the police here in Nevis. Every morning saying, this is all that we did. And I'm telling you, we have to commend them. because they have been working hard. When you and I are home fast asleep, we got patrols out there going around the island, checking on various government installations and ensuring that as much as possible. And so when these strategies bear fruit, whether it's for a month, 2 months, 6 months, or whatever period, I think it's important for us also to recognize that this has not come about by chance. This has come about because of deliberate efforts that are being made by the police. You asked about the plan to break what appears to be happening where Nevis records the first homicide. I don't know that I can tell you that I have a plan to break that. I did not know that these youngsters were going to go up to a place where people enjoying themselves and decide to shoot 2 fellas on New Year's Day. The police didn't know. It's not as if we had forewarning and we could have prevented it. The only way that we're going to break the back of crime is for us to change our attitudes in society. For our people to start to consider themselves and be responsible about what they do, what they say, how they function. For parents to be parents and to play their role as parents. Not have bad children in the house and bring down all God like Jesus Christ has come back. Sometimes I hear them talk about the bad children and you would think that it's Moses that they're talking about. The child never troubled nobody yet. Good boy. Don't trouble nobody. But yet every time a gunfire, the police go on by the place. Why? So we need to have some attitudinal changes in the society. No government anywhere in the world has any magic pill that they could just say, okay, take that pill and crime stops. Every society in the world. I remind people that when we still had the Garden of Eden, Cain killed Abel. So that tells you how long now we've had people engaged in criminality. People choosing violence and untoward actions in order to settle disputes. Since the time then, Garden of Eden. Nevis is close to the Garden of Eden, but not that close. So since then, we've had problems. So my simple point is that we need to start with ourselves. I think somebody, was it Michael Jackson who sang a song about Man in the Mirror? He used to be Michael Jackson in school. I remember he used to dance. Parents and family members are part of that problem. They need to do better. All them young girls in the high heels who hiding gun and contraband for the man must do better. Simple as that. And it makes no sense when something happens, everybody says, oh, the premier ain't doing nothing. Police ain't doing nothing. Because people out in the society are encouraging and facilitating these activities. And we know it. And when the police come down now, and they grab up people, you hear them start to call. Lord, Lord, Lord. Right? Ounce of prevention, worth upon the cure. Do what is right. Encourage our people to do what is right. And we wouldn't have these questions at the press conference about crime. Because there are too many enablers in the society. If you see and you don't say, you're enabling the crime. If you help hide the gun, you help hide the contraband, you get on the boat from Nevis to St. Kitts and you're carrying things in your bag, for criminals, you are part of the problem. It's not just the people pulling the trigger are the criminals. You have a lot of people around them, the network. When you go outside the club and you call somebody on the phone and say, see him up here, come now, you're part of the problem. And we have to confront it, and the only way I know to confront it is to speak plainly. So everybody's going to ask, Premier, what your plan is. My plan is to continue to talk, continue to encourage the police, continue to incentivize the police, continue to cooperate with the police. But also to say to the society that you too have a responsibility. And all of us, Tooth, Mun, Sam and Bagay, got to step up if we are going to confront and win this battle against crime and criminality. Any other questions? We have a new journalist now.
Good morning, Honorable Premier, and good morning to everybody. Good morning, Honorable Premier, and good morning to everybody. I would have liked to have sat in my seat without saying a word, but sometimes people would say, how come you were here and didn't say a word? One thing I would mention, having met with some people on Friday, they asked me pointedly, what happens when the Four Seasons closes? And I said to them categorically, Four Seasons is a mint. It's the gold standards. And based on what I know in Nevis, Four Seasons is not going to close, which means they may have spoken with other people who might have given them misinformation based on what I'm hearing you say, that Four Seasons temporarily would be closed and would be reopened. So I would ask you to emphasize the fact that Four Seasons is not going anywhere.
Well,
Bintalal, Al-Walid Bintalal, who was part owner of the Four Seasons with Bill Gates, I think Bill Gates now might be the only captain on that ship. And because of the type of investment that's there, I personally believe Four Seasons is not going anywhere. And the best place right now is in Nevis for investors to come and for them to be given the right story, not for them to ask me what's going to happen when Four Seasons closes. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Stanley, I'm happy you've raised this. I didn't realize that there was any confusion out there, because in every statement I've made, I've tried to be clear that the closure is temporary. The closure is to facilitate the final phase of the reconstruction of the hotel. And what they have said is that they will close in June for 4 months, June, July, August, and September. So the anticipation is that they will reopen in October, which will basically be a brand new hotel when they do that. Because this final phase of the construction, they're putting in new pools, new restaurants, etc., to complement the work that was already done. Because many of us may not have realized that they've done a phenomenal amount of work on the pier, on the beach side, building greater protection against storm surge. In the rooms downstairs, they put up some walls there. They've refurbished all of the rooms, and they've refurbished the great house, the reception area. All of that has already been done. This final phase now is to complete the project. And what they indicated, because you would recall and we said to the public that we had negotiated with the Four Seasons that they would remain open during the construction. And they did honor that commitment during 2018. They, however, came back to say that they were losing not only in terms of money, but reputationally. Because persons who came and booked to stay with them and were told that there was some construction, when they came, the level of construction, those people complained that this was not consistent with a 5-star experience that they expect of Four Seasons. And so as a result, I'm told they had to send people off to other properties, such as the sister property in Anguilla. They had to refund people. They had to discount people. So they were losing money. And then, for them, worst of all, people were going on TripAdvisor and those review websites and posting the most terrible reviews, horrible reviews on the hotel, telling people that, they shouldn't go there and things. So they came to us and they say, you know what, we understand what we had agreed, but this level of construction now, which will be in the middle of the hotel, as you come through the lobby, that whole area is going to be taken out. They have said they will have up to 30 trucks per day moving in and out. So really the chance of them remaining open and doing that level of construction would be impossible. And so we have said, if that is what you feel you need to do, our desire as a government is that you get it done as quickly as possible so that people can get back to work. And they've chosen the summer months, which are the worst months anyway in terms of visitors, and hope to reopen in October, and then of course we hope to ramp up. In the interim, they have said they will pay 25% while the hotel is closed for those 4 months, and that if people even get another job during that period, they will continue to pay the 25% for that period of time. So if somebody were to secure employment elsewhere for that 4-month period, they will nevertheless collect. And then in October, they move back into their jobs. That is the expectation. They have also, of course, said that starting in December of last year, they are recording their highest occupancy rates for many years and their highest room rate in history. And so they're saying that workers who work there have an opportunity now that it's raining to collect some water. In times of plenty, I believe it's even the good book tells us that in times of plenty you harvest and you save, you store up your grain because you know that times of famine and difficulty are coming. And so they have said that there is ample opportunity now for persons to save since they're going to be earning a bit more so that it gets them through that 4-month period of difficulty that we know is going to come. But this is not like a hurricane. When the damage comes unexpectedly, we don't know what to expect and the closure results. This is a planned closure for a temporary period of time. And we need to emphasize that. And I want that to be very clear. So thank you, Mr. Stanley, for raising it.
Well, I've been there since they have done that partial renovation, and I've seen the lobby has been expanded. You mentioned about the public park, and as I showed the delegation, the landscape from the higher elevation of Four Seasons, they looked at that public park. They have an interest in it. And thus, maybe you can elaborate more on it as to how that public park is going to be constructed and how much land would be available or left, whether left of it or right of it, going down to Sunshine, as the case might be.
The public park
The
public park is intended to take up the land space that's there. I think all told it's about 14 acres, Deputy Premier, 14 acres. And that includes, of course, where Sunshines and what's it called, Lindita and Randy and all of those are. Those are all on that acreage. As we all know, this was the brainchild of Malcolm Gishard, of blessed memory. And we have been talking about it for a very long time. At one point, we thought we were close to implementing, and that didn't work out. So we had to regroup. We now have the Taiwanese with us, and as I said earlier, they have a technical person that positioned in Nevis, living in Nevis, to take it forward. They're going to do the final design, and we're going to have some more public consultations on that, so that people can have their own input. But the intention is for it to be a leisure park, meaning that it's a place where people can go and relax, jog, walk about. They're going to have open areas where people can go and kick football or whatever the case may be and stay fit. They are going to have trees for shade and the like, and walkways throughout. They're also planning on having an area where they say we can have open air concerts if we needed to do that there. But the whole idea really is to create, along the lines that we see in other countries, an open space for our people to enjoy. There is no facility of its kind in the country at this point in time. And so that is the intention behind that. I myself thought, through my naivety, that 14 acres was a bit small. And I was told 14 acres is in fact huge, because they say in Taiwan the average park is 5 or 6 acres. And so they see this as an opportunity to do something grand on the island of Nevis for the benefit not only of us, but of generations of Nevisians to come. So that really is the intention, to utilize the whole acreage there for the purposes of a national park. Anything further for me? Okay, this appears to be one of the easier press conferences we've had. I want to thank one and all for coming. Thank the members of the press for their questions. Thank you, Mr. Stanley, for coming. You didn't say what media house you represented, but I'm grateful nonetheless that you have come. And I just want to thank the members of Cabinet, permanent secretaries, and of course the heads of departments, assistant permanent secretaries, and members of the police who have come. And lastly, the members of the media, thank you again, because without you, there would be no point to the press conference. So I really appreciate the questions, and I appreciate your participation. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you at the next press conference.
Short bus services and Dominic Construction. At number 54. And they're off. It's a good start, so they're coming up here now. Look at them go. There's a green up front. Green, gold, and blue. Green, gold, and blue. As they come up the track, green is running away here. He's running nicely. Can he take the record? He's left.